That's not a visual of an apocalypse. That's how the air looks like in the city of New Delhi. A research was done at the Yale University that air pollution does make people significantly dumber. For every 10-point increase in the air quality index, the human brain's thinking capability goes down by 1.2%. And Delhi's air quality index around the season of Diwali was plummeting over 1000 units, which is absolutely hazardous. And I had to make a move. So I did. And leaving the city was no easy task. The highways were jam packed, people were wanting to push out, to breathe in some fresh air, and we were in the same race. But luckily, we were in this race with the best SUV money can buy in this world. And I was more than elated to break this up here. It's none other than the Toyota Land Cruiser J300. But this one's really special. This is the GRS version, or the Gazoo Racing Sport. Now, back in the driver's seat, after driving for about 5.5 hours, I finally reached the foothills of the Kumaon region, and I felt so good breathing in the pure, thick air into my nostrils. The roads around this region are a little narrow, and it can get a bit cumbersome turning this 6.5, 7 foot wide behemoth. But surprisingly, the turning radius is very good, and once you start understanding the corners of the Land Cruiser J300, it becomes a very easy exercise to maneuver it around. There were barely any spaces where I took a 3 point turn, and even out on the open B roads, it's such a good car to drive. The suspension, the steering feedback. There's a lot to talk to you about it. And that is exactly the intention of this video. The GRS is a special SUV. But before we get into the depths of its dynamics, let's talk about what all has changed over the regular ZX variant. So the LC300, or the Land Cruiser 300, is the ninth generation of this phenomenal model of Toyota. This wasn't really a luxury swathed, leather infested carnival on the inside. Up till the last three generations, the last three generations have been the commanders of luxury in this space. Now, what all has changed in terms of the visuals within this GRS over the regular Land Cruiser that we get? First of all, you get this Toyota badging over here, which says Toyota out loud. You also have GR written over here, which reminds you that this is inspired by the Gazoo Racing bread. Now, you have a 25-degree approach angle, which is really good for off-roadability. You also get 265, 65 R18 tires, which might sound small in terms of how much this car is priced at, which is about 3 crore rupees. But if you look at it, these are supremely comfortable tire and alloy wheel setup. You also get proper locking differentials for the front and the rear wheels, which is a boon. The normal luxury LC300 gets a limited slip differential. You also get a GR badge over here, blacked out alloy wheels, blacked out rear view mirrors, blacked out door handles over here. None of that chrome embellishments that the luxury model gets. And at the back, you get this 25-degree departure angle as well, and a 23-degree rollover angle. At the back, the story is entirely similar. You get Land Cruiser lettered in black, and you get this GR Sport badge over here, which reminds you that this is a special LC300. What do you think about it? Let us know in the comments. Is this a better looking SUV than the Defender and the G-Wagon? Would love to know from you. Now, with all these additional mechanical embellishments that the GRS gets over the ZX variant, it does make it drive much tighter. While we were climbing up the upper Kumaon regions, driving through the narrow twisties with very sharp corners, this 3-ton SUV felt significantly effortless. Now, that is all thanks to the electro hydraulic steering wheel setup and the wide surface patch of the tires in the front. Although these are 265 65 R18s, but if given the right pressure and the right surface quality, the way it corners makes you really very surprised with its mechanical grip, and it plasters a large smile on your face. At the same time, you also have to be very careful because this almost 3-ton SUV at very sharp corners with its direction of inertia can throw you out of a corner. Now, this Land Cruiser GRS might be very much focused towards off-roadability because of a slightly higher ground clearance, thicker profile tires, and the way this coil spring suspension is set up. This is a quintessential off-roader that the Land Cruiser should have been. Now, the LC300 in its standard format is also there to allure the luxury car buyer who wants a bit of shebang and a bit of blink with all those chrome elements all around, but not in this one. This one gets a proper off-road worthy kit, and what is more noticeable is the way it rides. Now we are heading up to Almora, and this almost 3-ton SUV drives like a dream around these bends. This is electro hydraulic steering wheel. The engine is poking a good amount of torque. Now this gets 700 newton meters of torque, which is literally sports car territory. And the way it just changes direction, the way it makes sure that even when there is less traction on the surface, you still are in control. And that is what I love about this car. SUVs like the Land Rover Defender or the Mercedes Benz G Wagon might be really good in the straight line in terms of their outright performance. But when it comes to cornering ability and the ability to drive in a more enthusiastic manner, the Land Cruiser GRS, this is still the king of every luxury SUV right now. And honestly, that's not a huge statement to make about the Land Cruiser because it is just such a significant SUV for the world. All the great world leaders and the bad guys around the world trust the Land Cruiser for two very important things: reliability and durability. And that is something which is also very important in the Indian context, to be honest. Because you don't really buy such large SUVs to be garage queens or to be stuck at a place where there is just no support. And Toyota has it in abundance all across the country, no matter in which corner you are. And if you have a Land Cruiser, you have a best friend indeed, the best of the best in the world, because it'll take you to places, it'll take you back home, and that mental block of being stuck anywhere is absolutely gone. So that's one less stress in your life. And that is such an important thing because it helped me go to places which were not there on social media or the internet was not talking about. Some beautiful spots around Komao where I got down, took some pictures, cherished the moment around this car and how beautifully it was taking us everywhere without any issues. Except for the fact when you enter these small villages of Uttarakhand, you really are wanting for more space on the road because they are just so narrow. But after a few days of discreetly driving around the LC in Kumaon, it was time to head back home, and I felt anything but disgusted to be entering high AQI zones. But there are certain things about this car which really made my life easy that not many people are talking about. That is ergonomics. Let's get deep into it. So, while you're out on the highway, you need proper physical buttons to
control each and everything. And the Toyota Land Cruiser is the epitome of physical buttons. Now, in the recent news, Euro NCAP has announced that it will deduct points from their safety report card based on the fact if the car has physical buttons in the cabin or not. And this LC300 in its GRS guise for the driver has 72 buttons in this cabin. So many buttons around the steering, about 16 over here. There are so many buttons on the door card. There's a plethora of buttons in the central console, which I've counted myself and I just ran out of breath. And there are buttons for the volume control as well, which is absolutely fantastic. This car requires you to read these thick of user manuals to learn how to operate each and every function. Those manuals are thicker than most art college students' textbooks. And that, my friend, is such a brilliant thing because you become a literature enthusiast before you become a car enthusiast. Now, this car in general feels really very ergonomic. Each and every control over here is logically laid out and is placed to make your life easy. And these air conditioning controls, these drive controls over here are well within the reach of the driver, even when my elbow is sitting on the armrest. And whilst I'm talking about the armrest, you've got this armrest which opens up from here, and then it opens up from here as well, and it has a cool box on the inside. It's a refrigerator which you can use to cool down your drinks, which I've been doing throughout this trip. And because of this driver focused cabin, which is extremely comfortable, you would love doing about 1,000 kilometers in a day, which you might do because you've ended up buying an LC300 GRS, which is a purpose built SUV. Now, this particular car feels so special to drive. It's so supple, even at triple digit speeds. You cocoon on the inside, there's hardly any noise that's filtering into the cabin. Even at 150 kmph, we can be absolutely comfortable. Even with harsh road conditions, this car is a joy and a delightful car to live with every day. And with the way the entire cabin is set up, it just is something extremely special, which the Land Rover Defender or even the G-Wagon doesn't feel anymore. And what else is wonderful is the fuel economy, which I'm going to talk to you about at the end of this video.
Now, coming back to Delhi after escaping the smog for many days wasn't the easiest thing to do. But it also made me realize a certain amount of things which I didn't have the opportunity to shoot while I was enjoying the drive around the mountains. There are so many details which I would love and cherish for longer periods of time because this is Land Cruiser not everyone would get their hands on.
Now, a very important part of the Land Cruiser experience is the cabin. And to enter that, you've got this key fob which has GR written on the back. And this is a similar key fob to what you get in the Fortuner, the High Cross, and the Camry. You've got a lock, unlock, and a boot release button over here. You unlock the car by pressing there. You also have request sensors on the door handles where if you swipe like this, you lock the car. And if you put your hand on the inside, it unlocks it. Once you get on the inside, you're greeted by this wonderful black and bordeaux leather interior. And mind you, this is real leather interior, which also gets red stitching in contrast. And what differentiates it from the ZX variant is this GR badging, which tells you that this is a special edition car. Now, on the dashboard, you have everything swathed in leather, from the glove box compartment to the door cards, the dashboard top, the steering wheel, the sides of the central console. Everything is swathed in leather and high in quality. These buttons are very high quality. You've got a GR badge over here which tells you that you are driving a special Land Cruiser. You've got a plethora of physical buttons everywhere. Physical buttons, physical buttons, physical buttons, physical buttons for the climate control as well, and physical buttons over here, which is an absolute boon and very, very ergonomic indeed. In fact, Euro NCAP has made it a mandate to get physical buttons in the cabin to get proper points for safety standards. Now, once we start off the car, the steering comes back to the default position where you set it. The seat goes back to your setting position, and this is how you get the startup of the screen. Now, the user interface of the screen is similar to what you get in the Lexus LX, which is very, very good because the user interface and experience is extremely easy. Below that, you get a climate control system with two large AC vents and a plethora of physical buttons for seat heating, seat cooling, and all these climate control buttons. Over here, you get a quad zone climate control system. That means every passenger in the car gets different climate settings, and the air conditioning on this car is absolutely fantastic and very, very effective indeed. Now, once you get over here, you've got your off-road modes and your mode select button, which helps you select between these modes. You've got eco, comfort, normal, sport, sport plus, and custom. I always keep it on eco because this car is quite a sipper. Over here, you get your high 4x4 and a low range 4x4 button, which can be changed from a flick of a button. You also get a short turnaround button over here, which sort of locks up the rear wheels and helps you take a U-turn in a short radius. You also have a locking differential for the front and rear that you don't get in the ZX version. Also, once you press this button, you are greeted by this 360-degree camera, which is very similar to all the Toyota cars that you get in general. And a GR badge over here, which tells you that this is a special car. You've got a wireless charger over here. You've got some cubby holes over here to keep your bottles. And on the inside, you have this massive cool box where you can cool your drinks, like I'm cooling my water bottle. And you've got this tray to keep your keys. This can be opened up from here as well, and from the back also you can open it easily. Now, here in the back of the LC300, things are very, very opulent indeed. I'm 5 feet 8 inches tall, and for my size of a passenger, I've got quite a lot of space. Now, the width of the car is quite a bit, and henceforth, for the passenger at the back, there is quite a lot of space to move around their knees, their hips, their back, their lower back, and even their shoulders, and you won't be feeling claustrophobic at all, which you might feel in the G-Wagon and a little bit in the Defender as well. But for the rear passenger, you've got quite a lot of things to play around with. First of all, you've got this quad zone climate control system, which has got seat cooling and seat ventilation for individual seats at the back as well. And you have the temperature settings and the fan control for the rear passengers too, which is pretty brilliant. You've got these seats which can be uprighted or reclined fully to give you maximum comfort. You've got these nice cushy benches at the back which have good amount of under thigh support and good lower back support, which is very surprising in this segment. And these seats are extremely, extremely comfortable. You've got these cup holders which pop out beautifully, and this central armrest is very, very squishy, giving you quite a lot of comfort to your arms. Even the door card has a very soft armrest as well. Now, what I'm missing out on is the privacy curtain over here, but since these are factory fitted tinted glasses, the light might come in, but you won't feel the heat. You also get rear entertainment screens at the back, which are jutting out a little bit from this seat, which do have your casting feature from a mobile phone or your tablet, and you can also look at the navigation and other things. You can also open up the refrigerator from the back as well with an individual button, and you've got two type C charging ports, individual ports for your auxiliary headphones, to a 12-volt socket, and an HDMI port as well to watch your favorite movies, which is an absolute boon right now. I mean, we've forgotten that these things were essential if you're doing a long ass road trip. This car is now my favorite for backseat passengers because it's got everything that you would require. And you've got these JBL speakers and tweeters over here. You've got a magazine pocket over here. You don't have a panoramic sunroof, but you have this nice, soft, textury headliner which feels very high quality, very Japanese. And whilst you're on the headliner part, you've got these air conditioning vents over here. You've got air conditioning vents over here. So the back, your passengers would be very, very comfortable. This is a very comfort-oriented car. Absolutely phenomenal in terms of how everything is specced out. especially in this GRS, which has these nice black and red color theme.
Now, the boot space in the five-seater version that's sold in India is a staggering 1131 liters, which is great for a road trip of about half a month around the country. The 3.3-liter V6 twin turbocharged diesel engine produces 305 bhp and 700 newton meters of torque, which is available from as low as 1600 rpm. And this twin turbo motor is mated to a wonderful 10-speed automatic gearbox, which is very slick and also makes this car very efficient. A Land Cruiser and efficient doesn't seem right. But in our trip from Delhi till Haldwani, which is a distance of about 238 kilometers, we achieved a fuel economy of 16 plus kilometers to the liter whilst we were cruising on the highway. And on our road trip entirely, through 843 kilometers, which included going up the hill, coming down the hill, being stuck in the traffic, and driving on the highway, we achieved a fuel economy of 14.3, which is amazing. Now, legend has it that this car should have had a twin fuel tank, but in the Indian context, you get an 80-liter fuel tank.
So, what have I realized after driving the LC300 GRS for the last 1000 kilometers over 1 week? This is the ultimate SUV. No matter how fancy a brand you smash onto the front grille and call it an SUV, this is still going to be the king. All of those luxury SUVs are, at the end of the day, trying to be the Land Cruiser and beat it in its own territory, which they absolutely cannot. It is the most reliable, the most comfortable, the most fuel efficient, especially in this case because we've tested it and gotten above 14 kmpl over the trip of about 850 kilometers, and the most capable SUV money can buy in India today. This, of course, is a bit too expensive. At 3 crore rupees on road, it is terribly expensive, but then we have to blame the taxes posed by the government. But this is the only luxury SUV which will take you to places unheard of and bring you back home with zero stress whatsoever. And for that, there is just no competition to it. I hope you like this video. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram at TheRaceMonkey. Thank you so much for watching this video. Do wear your seatbelts. Goodbye.